coffee. I'm going to have a couple of references for you, but rather than going into depth on them,
Depth?
there's a pun in there. We're going to be discussing about the Titanic.
That's a little foreshadowing.
Yes. And this past week, they have some 3D images that have brought a lot of the wreckage to life.
Uh-huh.
That's what they're saying. I didn't do that. It was just there. And our picture that we're featuring today, shoes. A pair of shoes that was there on the Titanic.
Just a pair of shoes.
Uh-huh. And then there are the champagne glasses. There's some champagne glasses. Like I said, I'll leave the link so you can go and look and see what these things were. And it's even been brought into question whether or not they did hit an iceberg.
I mean, there's question whether or not it was the actual Titanic that wrecked.
Yeah. I'm moving my microphone, so if it screws up, you'll know what happened.
They could have swapped it out with that other boat.
Right. There has been a
again,
myth about that for a while.
Yeah.
So, it's just such a huge...
But apparently that's been debunked, though.
Well, I mean, these days, who the hell knows what's real, for real? And that it sank in 1912, and that 1,500 people lost their lives on this.
I mean, either way, it's a tragedy.
Oh, yeah, it was a horrible thing that had happened. And, like I said...
The movie was great, though.
The movie was good. It really was good. And it's just one of those...
I don't know, is that like in poor taste to say it like that? The movie was great, though.
No. And that's the thing where Hollywood versus reality. And there are a lot of people that's all they know of the Titanic is what Hollywood has said.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that they take a lot of leeway.
They do. They take a lot of leeway with a lot of things.
Right.
And they skew it to like, fit within their narrative.
Right. But one of the things that did happen, I'm going between screens here, and these are items that were recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And are very much called into question. These things have to be cursed.
Well, yeah, anything that is from a major catastrophe like that definitely has some bad juju on it.
Yeah.
That you do not want to touch.
Why would anybody want to have such items?
Well, me,
I just can't see
I have
that.
my reasons, but I can't say them out loud.
One of the main things as far as the film was that you had the band that did play as the ship was sinking.
Mm-hmm.
That really did happen.
That is sad.
Yeah.
That is really sad.
It said
do you know how horrifying that is to think?
What else were they supposed to do?
Everybody's screaming and the band is just playing in the background.
That was what they did.
Mortifying.
Sure. But what else were they supposed to do? These were people that were musicians, and they did die doing what they loved. So, I mean, it's one of those that messes with you to think of that. But what else? Everybody else was running around and screaming, so, But one of the people, the band members, was violinist Wallace Hartley. And so he did continue to perform. And that his body was found days later, and it said, with his violin strapped to his chest.
Oh, God love him.
Yeah. And so, at one point, I think that his family had wanted the instrument back, which we can understand why
Rightfully
they would.
So.
More recently, it had been sold for like $2 million.
That's a pretty penny.
Yeah.
I can see why.
Well, that's the type of thing, though.
But how good of a condition is it in?
It doesn't matter. It's the energy that surrounds it.
That's true.
And another thing that they had found was a pocket watch which had belonged to the ship's postmaster.
See, personally,
And it says that it had stopped at the moment that the watch had entered the water.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just a dumbass and I just have a thing for dolls. I would rather own a haunted doll than something else of that sort.
Well, it's different. Like I said, it's one person or one family's tragedy, which is bad enough, versus 1,500 people and the families connected to those 1,500.
Exactly. I would rather take the risk with the one family member compared to the thousands of spirits that could possibly be attached to that.
Right. So I can't imagine somebody wanting to do some of this. And it says in 2013...
Just the energy alone would be absolutely bombastic.
Yeah. 2013, the violin was sold at an auction for nearly £1 million. And let's see, I'm scrolling through here. Some of the things that they have recently shown that included not only the shoes, but the champagne. There were other things such as letters. There was one that was...
They found letters in the sea?
Well, this one was recovered at some point. It didn't say exactly. But it was a letter that had been written by a first-class passenger.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the ship went down.
Yeah.
The ship went underwater. This shit was submerged.
Yes, but they had, like, suitcases and different things that may have been airtight or some of these things. What was recovered also was the bronze cherub that stood there at the staircase. That would
creepy.
be...
That's creepy as fuck.
That one was recovered in 1987. And that would... I could see putting that in a museum. I really could.
Yeah, yeah.
But as far as these personal items...
No.
Something else that had been found was a crewman's keys that was used to unlock stock of lifeboat lanterns. Now remember, these people were so convinced that this was unsinkable that they didn't have the number of lifeboats that they needed. That hubris, that arrogance cost people their lives. Of course, it always does.
Man trying to outdo God.
That was, I don't know whether that was myth or whether that was real, but that, I don't know if it was the captain or the engineer or whoever it was, had made that declaration that not even God himself could sink it. Which God didn't, I don't think God cared one way or the other.
I would be like, I wonder if God would be proud of this. That's what I would be thinking.
Well, it was just that, like I said, that arrogance, that pride, that man could think that they could ever outdo anything, you know.
Do you think God would be proud of our little show?
I just hope we're not
proud of
bringing
our
him
little show.
shame. It's the main thing.
I'm proud of her. I'm proud of our little
I
show.
like our little podcast. I really do. Some of the things that they had, as far as like the menu that they had, you know, these things that had been recovered, they had the ship's bell. They had recovered
ADHD.
U.S. dollars. They did, recover like jewelry and some of the china and stuff like that. So that's all well and good.
It is interesting that all this stuff survived.
It is, and it said that they had recovered things from expeditions in 1987, 1993, 1994, 1996, 98, 2000, and 2004.
I had a friend who was really into the Titanic.
Do you?
No, did.
Oh, did? Okay. And because you've always got treasure hunters that they're going down there to try to, and I think that's, me personally, leave the stuff alone.
Yeah.
It is like a huge tomb. It's like a form of grave robbing.
You leave that personal shit there. Seriously. Yeah. Once it's there, that is their gravesite.
Yeah.
You leave that there.
But you know people want
Now that cherub, you can take that cherub. That is
right.
That is the boat. That was already public property, basically. So that's
Well,
free.
whoever owned the boat,
Yeah,
yeah.
whoever owned the boat. That's free to game. That's free game for anyone. But personal belongings, no. That has their own. That has that individual's energy on that, and now it has that tragedy along with it, and it has everybody else's energy in that. Don't fucking take that shit.
Right. But that's just like even as far as the champagne bottles and
You
stuff.
don't know what was attached to that person to begin
No,
with
you
either.
don't. No, you don't. And it would not surprise me if somebody went down there and tried to salvage some of the champagne. Now, can you imagine consuming something that had that energy attached to it?
Absolutely not. I think the fuck not.
Yeah. That was the reason, as far as using the image of the shoes, personal items. And like I said, even the jewelry, I don't care what the monetary earthly value was that belonged to that individual. That individual did not give that to someone. It was taken from them.
Well, that's why before we started this, I asked you about the Hope Diamond, and
Right.
that's where the legend about the Hope Diamond, I thought, began was from the Titanic.
Well, I understand that. And that was what, the fact that they had, what was it? Something other of the sea. It wasn't chicken
The
of the
Diamond of the
It was
Sea.
yeah, I think that's what it was. Heart of the Ocean.
Part of the ocean.
Was what they had called it in the movie, and that it was based on the Hope Diamond and the legend around that it was cursed, and which a lot of that stuff was, a lot of these stories surrounding objects, bullshit. It was propaganda. It was stuff to hype people up whether they wanted to see it. If it was a matter of increasing the, it's like, oh, I own this. Although some horrific things have happened to people who did own the Hope Diamond. Yeah. So, it's in the Smithsonian, which is in D.C. We've got some horrific things going on in D.C. and have had for a long time.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what do you do with some of these things?
You pray.
Yeah, you do pray. You do pray. But that's with the cursed items, and we're using the Titanic.
Pray and hope your ass doesn't fall off.
Yeah. As the example on this, but that can be true. This can be said of things in antique shops.
Uh-huh.
Sort of kind of know the origin of things. Whether you are bringing home a potentially cursed object. Mirrors are bad to buy out of antique places.
That's like I just got a mirror out of a recently deceased person's
Yeah,
home.
and I questioned you then. I'm like, you are not bringing that in the house.
And I didn't. I told you that I wouldn't, and I didn't.
So, no, you
and I am not.
Because you knew I was going to throw a fit.
And you know I would throw a fit too, because I know better, because you taught me better.
Yeah. That's the reason we have very few mirrors in this house.
Mm-hmm.
And where they came from, one of them was the Wall of Mart. And the other one is the medicine cabinet. Now, you may have some in your room. I don't know whether you do or not.
What?
Mirrors.
I got like one.
Yeah.
Literally one. I need to get one for my room.
Okay.
Like one of those long body mirrors or whatever.
Right. But that's one of the things. Don't buy mirrors from antique things or estate sales or anything like that. You're asking for trouble.
But the thing is, people literally go for those because of those reasons. Because the spiritual reasons.
They want a cursed object?
Yes.
What
they go to estate sales. They go to antique stores. They go to thrift stores. They go to flea markets, thrift shops, all that stuff to find haunted, cursed objects because they like to collect those things.
They like the thought of collecting those things.
They like the thought of it, and they actually do like owning the object. Some of them do. Some of them also just use it as a way to sell shit.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those that until some shit comes through on them, it's playing Russian roulette. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it won't. And it's just like, even as far as some of these antique items, I have this thing about shoes. No. That is a very personal item. Well, especially if it's like turn of the century baby shoes. No.
Well, you and me went to the antique store or the antique mall that used to be a couple towns over.
Right.
Sadly, it's no longer. And there was like a pair of shoes there or something. Was it that one that was a pair of shoes, or was it a different one?
I think it was the one that was down in Bristol that they had several. They had the huge section, and then they had another huge section that was across the road.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge antique mall.
But anyway, there was like a pair of... You know what? I think you're right. That was the one. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Because they also had some ice skates.
Yes. Because you're like,
Absolutely.
You were like, no. And
No.
I'm like, what? What is it? And you're like, no. Just no. I can't explain it. It's just no.
Just
and I'm like,
accept it
all
and
right,
go
damn.
on. Just accept it and go on.
Yeah.
I mean, I can feel the energy off this stuff. And if I get that, I don't want to say it's a repulsion necessarily. It's just, and I will physically, it's like I'm pushing it away from me.
Yeah.
And so why in the hell would I want to bring something into the house that I can't deal with it in an open air venue? It's just no. I mean, there are certain ones, and I am like that with some baby dolls. So kid a lot of times it's like, is this an okay? It's like, yeah, and it's okay. You can bring that one home. Because a lot of people, I understand they like to collect the antique things. But again, toys, these are usually very beloved by children. And if it's a toy that happened, that there was a tragedy that happened to that child, and you're going to bring that into your house, no.
Well, you know that these are, even though I'm an adult, these are still very beloved by me.
Absolutely.
Even though they are second or third hand, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
It's like, and I hope like whoever, owned these items before me can see that I do appreciate them.
Right.
And I like them.
Right.
And you and I appreciate these ones over here that are in the corner the most.
Yeah, that's the reason they've got
along with the ones that we have on the wall at Puckery.
Yeah, we've got some there that are way cool. But now that's the thing with Helena. She is just special.
She is special, and I need to repair her. I need to take a lot of her.
It's okay. It's okay. She is not a cursed object.
She's not a cursed object.
But there is an energy to her. I
Yes.
have this weird attachment to that, which I have never had to any other doll in my life.
Mm-hmm. And even when I was taking her up to the cabin, you're like, be careful with her.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was like that time that you had, were going to take her to a pawn shop.
And I was going to sell her,
I physically became nauseous. And I'm like, oh no, you bring, I'll buy her. Do not do that to her. I will buy her. So, she's mine.
Yep,
she's mine.
she is yours.
It's bought and paid for. But as far as bringing some of these objects, I understand the historical significance of the items that have been found in the Titanic. Even if I question things in museums, because a lot of those objects, it is grave robbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
So, what do we do?
The whole thing about archaeology in general is grave robbing.
Yeah. It truly is. And you think about as far as, it seems like I had read recently that they had uncovered a couple more figures there from Pompeii.
That is a place that should not be touched.
Horror frozen in time.
That is a place that should be left alone.
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand people wanting to explore these things, and that's a hard call. Because it is fascinating, and things can be learned from them.
Unless you are there to pay respect,
right?
Do not go there.
There's people that I have seen that'll sit there and act like idiots when they go through Arlington Cemetery. Pisses me off, And I think that's true of any place. And you and I, when we visit any of the cemeteries or do any of the videos there, we are always respectful. We always go, we explain to, anybody that might be there that it's a matter of us going and looking at the art of the tombstones. We love those. The ones that were the hand-hewn ones are amazing.
Well, I know that there's spirits there that if I piss them off, that they can hurt me.
Well, it's
They
just
they
not-
can
I
hurt
don't want them
any
to
of
come
us.
home with us.
Yeah, they can follow us, any of that. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to keep myself protected. Try to keep both of us protected.
Right. Well, it's just a matter of explaining this is what we're doing. Even as far as before we leave, it is a matter of thank you. We're going now.
It's not that I don't like the stuff, because I do. Yeah, I really do enjoy it.
So,
But sometimes it can really creep you out.
Well, it can, and I think that these people that have that, there was, I don't know if it's still a trend or not.
Like, seriously, it takes a strong person to actually do some investigation.
Well, yeah. But these people were doing something that was called soaking, where they laid down on top of a grave.
That's just an idiot.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I knew someone who did something else on top of a grave, but I ain't going to go there.
That's for another.
And I was like,
another
you
time.
are a damn idiot, and you
That's
got yourself
desecration.
cursed.
Absolutely, it's a desecration of that. Now, some
And
of them.
he knew he got himself cursed.
Some of the places have like memorial gardens. I see nothing wrong with going and sitting, and even as far as having a lunch or something like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a matter of just respect, which is something that people have forgotten lots.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that are sacred. That's another thing people have forgotten lots.
Yes.
Even as far
And it
as...
should stay sacred.
Sure. The things that objects hold energy. And until something is gnawing, at their soul in the middle of the night, and then they're like, oh, I wonder what caused this. And it's like, because you're an idiot.
People don't realize their own energy is soaking up into their house.
Yeah.
So when they pass on, their energy is going to be there.
Sure. Whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
so what are they leaving behind?
Right. Well, that's like the story we had a few cups back about how the people could recover DNA from air or sand or anything like that. Okay, anytime you're in a dwelling, you have skin cells that slough off. You have, just when you're breathing.
That's why you vacuum. That's why.
You can't, and you're right. It is part of that person's essence. That's the reason if you've got somebody that's negative that's been in your house, smudge or do some burn candles, any of this stuff, prayers. After they leave, you don't want that residue. It's like somebody tracking shit in your house on the bottom of their shoes. For real.
Wipe your feet before
it's
you
just
go
on
into
a
that
spiritual level. Oh. So, any final thoughts? Would you have a cursed item from the Titanic?
No.
Or any kind of item, let's put it like that. Any kind of item that had been on that ship.
No. If it was off the boat, maybe.
I don't even
but
know.
But I would like to look at it, definitely. But own it? No.
Right. Well, I think that they did, like the cherub and stuff in the ship's bill. I'm sure that's bound to be in some kind of museum.
Mm-hmm.
Would have to be.
Like
I
said, I would definitely like to look at the stuff, but I wouldn't want to own it.
Nope.
And just the thought of having that stuff in my house is just...
Well, it's like dead people's jewelry. No.
Well,
no. Unless they bequeath something to you.
Yeah.
Then that's different.
Or another family member of that person has given that jewelry to you.
Never buy a dead man's knives. No.
Do you know how much stuff I have bought from thrift stores, though?
Not knives.
That's true.
That's an old thing. Don't do that.
But how do people cleanse jewelry and knives and such like that?
Well, like I said, as far as knives, that's something I have known since I was a kid. Do not, you either buy knives new, you have them gifted to you. There's an old thing as far as that you're supposed to give somebody a penny in exchange for it. I don't know where that came from. But as far as buying used knives, I don't.
Huh.
I don't know how you would cleanse that as far as cleansing jewelry.
Because, like, thrift stores, they sell those jars of jewelry.
Right. Right. Well, if it's something, unless we're talking about things that were near and dear to somebody. If it was, excuse me, if it was some kind of jewelry that had that great of a value, more than likely it's not going to end up in the thrift store. You know, the family's going to take that someplace else to sell that.
Yeah. Okay.
So you don't have to worry about any of those things. So those are final thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've had experiences with the paranormal or supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you have ever had the misfortune of purchasing a cursed item, or now that you've heard what we've talked about, sit there and go, maybe I need to get rid of this. My life was going okay until I brought this into my house and then things started going to shit. You can send us an email, cupofcoffeewithscream. I really, really am going to try to get through the emails this weekend. I really am. That or put it in the comment section. And I will try to I'll probably just give the link to the articles that I've used from Daily Mail. And then you all can peruse through there because it was just a matter of glancing shots that we used.
Yeah, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and click that notification button for daily notifications of our daily uploads. Thank you all and have a good.
Know that you're loved. And Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup.
Yes.
Bye.